When will the new Marxist cultural revolution overreach and unify a broad coalition of the non-criminally insane to bring about American restoration of good sense and common decency? It's a question conservatives have been pressing for some time. It didn't happen when marriage was redefined to no longer be marriage. It didn't happen when criminals were redefined as victims and victims as oppressors, depending on the respective races of the two groups. It didn't happen when men and women were redefined to be independent of their chromosomal content. And all the bluster aside, there's little electoral evidence to date that it will happen with the redefinition of American citizen to be anyone who is in America at any time by any means. It's difficult to gauge what indignity will strike enough of a chord with enough Johnny punch clocks across the necessary range of demographics to stoke a revolt that leads to a reset. Decriminalizing retail theft in major cities didn't do it, but perhaps decriminalizing the illegal taking of people's homes could. If not, we're a grab of the shirts off of people's backs away from naked and afraid on a mass scale. My hope is people are starting to take notice of the spike in squatters' rights cases. This isn't just a mediocre Michael Keaton, Matthew Modine, Melanie Griffith movie, Pacific Heights, spoiler alert. From Manhattan to Beverly Hills, both illegal immigrants and full-fledged U.S. citizens are stealing people's homes in plain sight, and in one Manhattan case, even murdering the rightful property owner in the process. It's become enough of an issue that Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida Republicans have moved legislation to prevent this usurpation of property rights.
Does your house belong to you? Or if you are not using it, can someone just come in, squat for a period of time, and then claim that they have a right to be there? This so-called squatter scam is something that's happening around the country. There's even videos telling people how to go in and take over an empty house. That was never how the law was supposed to work. And in Florida, we are going to take action today to end this scam and to protect the private property rights of our homeowners. You should not have anyone go on your property and take it over and then try to assert some rights. It's absurd. We're going to put an end to it today, and we'll be leading the way yet again in the process.
DeSantis is absolutely right about the squatters' rights advocacy in the form of how-to guides online and social media influencers like this Venezuelan whose clarion call to the shiftless recently went viral.
Ya que me enteré que existe una ley que dice que si una casa no está habitada, podemos expropiarla. Capichi, muchachos, aquí en United States también se aplica la de invasión de terreno.
But it's even worse than that. Just ask New York couple Susanna and Joseph Landa.
Sandra, the family says they've had no choice but to take the man living inside their home to court. And despite having hearing after hearing, they still haven't been able to move in.
It has just taken over everything.
Susanna and Joseph Landa bought what they thought was their dream retirement home in Douglaston, Queens.
We're looking to hopefully retire and most of all provide for my son, Alex, who has Down syndrome. He has a disability.
The new house is right next door to family members.
I just want to know that I can die tomorrow when he's next to his brother.
They signed the deed back in October.
And then what happens?
The nightmare begins.
The house came with something unexpected. A man living in their home who they say refuses to leave.
We couldn't believe it. We could not believe it.
They have keys. They're the owner.
This is what happened when the Landas tried to enter with an insurance inspector. They say Flores called the cops on them, even though they say they gave him 10-day notice.
If you don't want to gather up a posse and head to New York to throw that bomb out at the Landas' home so they can enjoy their earned retirement and be secure in the knowledge their son will be properly cared for, then you are part of the problem. Adverse possession of our country by the left leads to open-ended occupation by parasites. These instances are nothing short of unconstitutional takings under the Fifth Amendment. Just as the federal government illegally used private sector cutouts in the form of the big tech companies to censor Americans' free speech rights to do indirectly what it couldn't do directly, so are state and local governments doing that with respect to Americans' property rights. But what are our constitutional rights worth if they won't be protected? And how can we live as free people if we cannot restrain our government? Big questions. We can be creative, and turn the system against its designers and illegitimate beneficiaries the way Flash Shelton did, as he recently explained to John Stossel.
This man is on a mission to take back his parents' house after he says squatters moved in.
I just felt like, if they can take a house, I can take a house.
This was his mom's house. She left it briefly after his dad passed away. When squatters took over the house, Shelton did what I would have done.
I called law enforcement, and there was nothing they could do.
Why can't the cops evict somebody?
Because the crazy laws don't allow them to.
So Shelton came up with this bizarre solution.
I realized I could go in as the squatter myself, gain possession of the property.
Because the law so favors squatters, he became a squatter. When the home invaders left for a few hours, Shelton slipped into the house and changed the locks.
I had them locked out before they even knew that somebody wanted them out.
The squatter comes back, finds the door locked, screams, says, I have a right to be there, and you just don't let him in?
I don't let him in.
In fact, this episode prompted Shelton to start a business called Squatter Hunters to help others experience the same plight. While every business solves a problem, and the Flash Sheltons out there serving as equalizers for the victimized are laudable, that play is not scalable. The people who play by the rules in this country need to rally. The people who worked and saved and paid in and colored inside the lines need to assert themselves. For it is the people who play by the rules and who lived lives in keeping with the traditions of Western civilization who represent America's truest rainbow coalition. Their ranks include every race and religion and country of origin. And it's time they drew a line. We are going to fight for our way of life, which produced our individual homes, to save the group home for which we, who play by the rules, have an equal share, called America. I'm Dan Proft with a Counterculture Commentary.
Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And please leave a comment in the comment section. We'd love to hear your thoughts.